Lions TV from the docks to the den. Welcome to this Millwall history documentary. Over the next hour or so, I'm going to be taking you all across London, starting here on the Isle of Dogs. Now, you may be wondering why Docklands Light Railway Station features in a Millwall history documentary, and you'd be forgiven for not knowing the answer. When Mudchute Station was built in the late 80s, it was actually supposed to be called Millwall Park, but that attracted a lot of complaints from local residents who feared the name Millwall in the title would attract rival away football fans to the wrong part of town. So instead, they named it Mudchute. This current location is just a stone's throw away from the third and fourth grounds that we played at on the island before we set sail for pastures new across the Thames to New Cross in 1910. But that is a long way away. First off, we got to go back to the very beginning. JT Malton was established in Aberdeen in 1849. The company moved south of the border to London in 1872, establishing a cannery and processing plant right here on the Isle of Dogs. The thriving docks attracted a workforce from all over the UK, including a large influx of Scotchmen, many of whom were Dundee dockers, and that's where it's believed that the Millwall colours, which still stick to this day, originated from. And here we are where it all began. JT Malton & Co. Preserves and Jam Factory behind me. There is a little bit of confusion and conflicting reports online whether it was called JT Malton & Co. or whether it's called C.E. Malton & Co. and whether it provided just jam or a whole range of preserves to sailing ships that went out to sea. What we do know for sure is that this was the exact spot that the main offices were located. Just behind me there are now some beautiful penthouses, but once upon a time, as I said, this was a thriving sailing industry. Just behind the camera, as you can see, is the link between the Millwall inner dock and the main drag of Thames. And in 1885, Millwall Rovers was founded. But not only do you need a name and somewhere to base yourself from, but you also need a pitch. So let's go and have a look at Millwall's very first ground on the island. A short walk from the Malton factories along the West Ferry Road was Millwall's first ever ground. Although not so much of a ground but more a strip of wasteland, the team used the Islander pub as a base, which was in Took Street. The pub was more commonly known as the Sextons due to its landlord, Maurice Sexton, whose son Jasper was Millwall Rovers' first ever chairman at the tender age of just 17. Unfortunately, Took Street and the pub, which was bombed in the First World War, no longer exist. And here we are, boys and girls. Millwall's first ever pitch was just behind me on this piece of wasteland. Originally Glengall Road. Glengall Road no longer exists. Believe me, take it from a man that's wandered around for hours upon end trying to find it. I'm currently in Millwall Dock Road, which is a cul-de-sac. I've got the river just to the right where they're building some very exclusive apartments. Millwall Dock Road is joined to Tillier Road, which is in turn joined to West Ferry Road. So if anyone ever wants to come and look, there's not a lot to see. But once upon a time, this was the very first place that Millwall Football Club played. After only 1 year at Glengall Road, for reasons unknown, Millwall Rovers left and set up home at the Lord Nelson pub in the East Ferry Road. And here it is in all its glory. The Lord Nelson pub still stands today. It was Millwall's home from 1886. They used it as a base and as a changing rooms for the pitch that was just behind in Manchester Grove, which is sadly no longer there. If you're looking for a little bit of perspective on where's where on the island, I've just walked about 20 minutes from the Canary Wharf side where the Malton's factory and the Glengall pitch were, over to this side where our second, third and fourth homes on the island are all in very close proximity. As I said, a shame the pitch is no longer there, but the pub is still intact. After arriving at the Lord Nelson pub in 1886, Millwall Rovers began to enjoy some success on the pitch, winning the East End Senior Trophy 3 times, and in 1889, after surviving the threat of closure, the club changed its name to Millwall Athletic. The club had a fantastic setup at the Lord Nelson, using the pub as its headquarters and with the pitch only 500 yards away. But sadly, the club were evicted in 1890 by the landlady after she received a better offer. So now, within just 5 years of its formation, Millwall Athletic were on the move again and looking for their third home on the island. They turned to the Millwall Docking Company, as the Millwall Dock Company had land all over the island, and just a short distance from the Lord Nelson pub, a piece of land was rented to the club that could accommodate large crowds, and they called it the Athletic Ground. So here you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry it is a little bit uninspiring, but history is history, and you'd have to have a pretty vivid imagination to imagine that once upon a time on this very location, Millwall played in front of crowds of up to 20,000. As you can see today, it's just an Asda's car park, not a very nice Asda's car park at that, but luckily for us, the George pub, which was the club's base at the time and used as changing rooms, is just through that alley, and it's still open today. So let's go in there, and it's about lunchtime. Let's have a nice pint, eh? Millwall's stay at the George lasted 11 years. Upon their arrival at the premises, Millwall Athletic were already by now pioneers of the Southern League, winning the title twice back-to-back in 1894 and 1895. It was around this time that the club directors started to realise the long-term potential of the club, and with growth and profit in mind, their eyes started to drift away from the Isle of Dogs, and in particular, south of the river.
And there you go, just been in there. The George Hotel to this day still stands. Unbelievable. I've been in there and had a pint, and it's still pretty much as it was back then. A lot of the original features still in there. This was a place where the players come, not only got changed, but come back to a game, either winning or losing, celebrating or commiserating with a cold ale, and that was unbelievable to go in there. As I said, the ground's now gone, and the Asda's is in its place, and it is a shame, but that for me more than makes up for it. But that's 3 grounds we've been to now on the island, and all 3, there's not any evidence that any of them ever existed. So now we'll go to our 4th and final place on the island, the last place that Millwall played before going south of the river. And believe me when I tell you, there's still a lot to be seen there.
In 1901, the Lions hit yet another snag. The dock company needed their land back on the athletic ground, which once again left the club homeless. They turned to nearby North Greenwich Park. For now, this move was perfect. The club retained its fan base, and it was a logistical dream, as the athletic ground to the North Greenwich ground was about as far as the old den was to the new.
And here we are at our final destination on the island, Millwall Park, as it's now known. North Greenwich back then was Millwall's home between 1901 and 1910. We are just a short walk away from the 3rd ground, which we've just been to, the athletic ground, and we are directly back opposite Mudshoot Station, or Millwall Park as we know by now, which it should have been called. This 4th and final move on the island was imposed upon Millwall. The old docking company wanted their ground back on the athletic ground, so when they got here in 1901, it was waterlogged, it was disgusting, there was cattle grazed on it, and they had to pay for the pitch to be steamrolled in time for their very first tie here, which was against Aston Villa. And here we are in the playing fields. As I said, this is the only site left where you can still sense that there was a ground here once. The arches are clearly visible in the background from old photos, although some of them have now been filled in. The playing fields are still in use. Some people were playing cricket earlier. There's a couple there having a picnic. I'm still waiting on the offer of a sandwich. But there was a nice structure here, and in one sense, it's a shame that they went south, and they went south to look for bigger crowds and higher revenue. That just tells you structurally how far this place we're in now has come on the Isle of Dogs. You know, it's absolutely thriving, and this, where we're standing right now, definitely could have been a home for a current football club. It's big enough. There's big area around the outside for stands. There's domestic, there's commercial, and a football club could definitely have existed. But thank God we went south of the river and got things right. And here we are at the old den, or just the den as it was known back then. It was designed by architect Archibald Leach. Building started in 1909, and it took 18 months to construct, with the den opening its doors for the very first time in October 1910. The official capacity of the den was just 22,000, with 4,000 of those being seats, but crowds would regularly exceed that at Coldblow Lane, with health and safety not really of paramount importance back in the day. A game against Derby in 1937 saw 48,672 fans cram in to the den. After the initial buzz of the relocation to the den in 1910, the club decided to drop athletic from their name, and they were now known as just plain old Millwall. They had a fairly successful existence over the next 30 years, including a run in the FA Cup in 1937, which saw them reach the semi-final and knock out Chelsea and Manchester City along the way. But unfortunately, things were just about to change. The 1940s proved a difficult time, not only for the club, but for the nation as a whole, due to the Second World War. But Millwall, however, were determined to carry on, guided by their manager, Bill Voisey. Voisey was a decorated World War I veteran with full military honours. But as Millwall manager, he faced a different kind of battle, often struggling to field a team during the war years. Voisey, an ex-England international, at times even had to field himself at the tender age of 50. As if things wasn't difficult enough for Voisey, the den was bombed during his reign as manager in April 1943 during the Blitz, which left the club unable to play at the den for over a year. But against all the odds, once again the Lions showed their fighting spirit, and under new manager Jack Cock in 1945 reached Wembley for the very first time, unfortunately losing 2-0 to Chelsea in the Southern Area Cup final. During the post-war years, there was a severe lack of funds for investment in new players due to the rebuilding of the main stand that was bombed during the war. But despite that, Millwall still managed to be runners-up of the 3rd Division South in 1953. The late 50s saw a managerial merry-go-round at the den, seeing 4 different managers in 5 years, which, to younger viewers, may not seem so strange, but back in the late 50s and early 60s, constant managerial changes was something of a rarity. If you don't know where I currently am, then obviously you aren't a Millwall fan, because this is a location that is notoriously famous amongst Millwall fans, almost as famous as the old den and the new. This is a location that's been in various sound bites, videos, upon merchandise. I am talking, of course, about the Coldblow Lane Tunnel. This has been used as a walkway since 1910 for Millwall supporters. It still gets used today, as if you go through this tunnel and go that way, that's where the old ground was. Instead, nowadays, you go round to the right. As I've already said, this location is iconic amongst Millwall supporters, and so far, you've seen a lot of history, you've seen a lot of landmarks, but now the dynamic of the documentary is just about to change. It's time to go out and meet a few ex-players. We start with a Bermondsey boy born and bred, a Millwall Hall of Famer, over 250 appearances for the club between 1967 and 1978. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow morning, we're going to meet Alan Dorney. Alan Dorney was born in Bermondsey, London in 1947. After growing up around the area and watching Millwall play, he joined the club as an apprentice, and after turning professional in 1968, quickly established himself as a first-team regular. A Millwall legend in his own right, Alan also played in the back four with Barry Kitchener and Harry Cripps. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, Alan Dorney, a Millwall legend. Cheers, Al, thanks so much, appreciate you joining us today. You come from the area, you used to go and watch Millwall as a boy, yeah? And then,
I used to
what sort of players were around the team at that time when you was a boy watching them growing up?
I remember Peter Burridge, who was a striker, Dave Harper, one of the central defenders, the two Brady brothers, Joe Broadfoot, others what I can't name probably at the moment, but they were good to watch, normally quite violent for our own games.
Sounds about right.
But they were.
What was the den like as a kid? I mean, I know when I was a kid going in the 80s, it used to scare the shit out of me, but back in the day when you was a kid, what was it like being in and around the den and as a fan, as a young kid, getting in the ground and the atmosphere?
No, it was good. The where there's sort of a boundary, the touchline was almost in the terraces. It was very
compacting.
Yeah, like if someone took a throw in, you could sort of more or less tap them on the shoulder, and also verbally you could hear.
Get right.
Which I learnt later on in my career. You know, like when I started playing. You know, like I tried not to get too close to the touchline, like
even our ground.
Yeah, some liked you and some didn't. So it quite amusing, and often, well, not often, but sometimes it's being local. I used to go to parties on a Saturday evening, and someone would normally say, like, there's a party in the Greg tonight, Al, if you want to go. So I try to keep more in the central part or over the other side of the pitch, but
well, they used to shout from the touchline.
No, well, not shout, but you know, so it was.
Well, just like as you take the throw on, Al, quick one, party tonight.
Yeah, good enough to hear. Yeah, providing you get a result, otherwise don't turn up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But when you was amongst them, saying you was partying with a fan base and all that back in the day.
Well, yeah, like I mean, obviously, if I had a drink, it was normally at a pub quite close to the ground, and there'd always be like people come over and like just want to have a chat, or like, and they were always seemed quite pleasant to me. But some of them I've been told were like wolves in sheep's clothing, you know, like that. And when that was all right with me, but they might go outside and then be rolling around the floor with someone they'd had a disagreement with in the toilet or something.
Yeah. What was the playing at the den? Was it? I mean, what was the crowds like when you was playing there? Was it not as the crowds?
I think they were quite intimidated. Other sides, you know. I think, you know, probably it give you a little bit of an edge, but because I live local, I prefer playing away from home, because if I did anything sort of good or wrong, like it was normally magnified.
Couldn't go and get a paper and a pint of milk down the shop.
No, that's right. I'd have to send the dog out.
Over 250 games.
Yeah.
One goal.
Yeah.
Wikipedia tells me.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
Bristol City. Yeah.
What, an own goal was it?
No. I was trying to clear it up the wrong end.
Bristol City home?
Yeah, and we won 1-0, so it was
and the winner and all.
Good one to get. Yeah, and at the time we were not doing that great that season, and so it was a good time to score a goal and obviously get the
celebrate
points.
Or just didn't know what was going on.
No, we didn't know how to celebrate. Where some of them get quite a lot of practice in. I the practice I got was over Deptford Park in like training ground games. Yeah.
Couldn't get on the score sheet just the once though.
No. I think I hit the bar at Preston as well.
He's got it.
But that was as close as I got, you know. And well, and a few people, like friends and people who used to go and watch, they said like if I went over the halfway line, I got lost.
Got a nosebleed.
But the reason being that like Barry Kitch was so good in the air for corners and free kicks, you know, that's why he was there every time, and I stayed back and tried to cover for him. But no, it was a rarity really for me to be in the opposition's penalty area.
Well, moving on to the aforementioned Barry Kitchener, obviously you're a Millwall legend in your own right, but you will be able to give people an insight into two massive legends that are no longer with us, Harry Cripps, Barry Kitchener. You played with both of them.
Yeah.
Let's start with Barry. As soon as you mentioned him, what was he like on the pitch? As not just on the pitch, but also after that. Let's cover what he was like off the pitch, because he's
like a gentle giant,
yeah,
really.
You took the
Very
words out of my mouth, yeah.
sort of well mannered, respected, and then, as you say, like salaries weren't as they are now, and he had a fruit shop, like as you say, off the pitch.
Yeah.
And quite often, you know, like he'd go to the market to get fruit for his shop what his brother and him worked in, and I think occasionally he was late for training because his delivery was late, like getting them back to the shop with the fruit and veg, which they did. But no, he had nice wife, 3 girls I think he had, like children, and
that's the thing. A lot of people say he was just a really
really
nice,
unassuming, you know, like
off the pitch. He was a giant as well, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he was a big lad. I was younger. He was about 6 months younger than me, but he was about 6 inches taller. But he was a very pleasant chap, you know. And it's a shame that like life was cut quite short, really, because I think shortly after finishing either linked with training or playing for the club, he passed away.
Yeah. So I look at pictures. I see a picture the other day I put up on our social media of you. I didn't even realise this. I knew you'd played with Kitch, and I knew you played with Harry Cripps. I saw a picture. It was Brian King, you, Cripps, Posse, and Kitchener, like all in the same team.
Yeah.
That must have been some side.
Oh, they're very good.
Amongst others who I don't know, obviously, so I wasn't around them. But
no, out of the them lads are all really good players. But I mean, you had Eamon Dunphy.
Yeah, when I put that picture up and said that, someone else would, don't forget Eamon Dunphy.
Eamon Dunphy, Gordon Bolland.
Yeah.
And Keith Weller. On his day, he was the best player I ever played with.
Really?
But you know, like really, I think talented players sometimes they don't fancy it, and when he didn't fancy it, he might as well not been on the pitch. But
bit of a 1970s prima donna, was he? So we covered Kitchener. Harry Cripps. Did you? So as I understand it, I've had to do my research, because you are, as I mentioned, you're off camera, the first ever player I've interviewed that played that wasn't in my lifetime. So if you can give myself and people watching the younger generation a better understanding of what the team sort of was, King in goal, then you was a centre half with Kitch, or Harry Cripps was left back. Is that right?
Harry Cripps was one full back. Brian Brown was the other.
I know you was at the club for 11 years.
Yeah, myself and Barry were central defenders, and Dennis Burnett was sweeper. Then you had Eamon Dunphy, Dougie Alder, and Gordon Bolland, sometimes Stevie Brown, and Derek Posse, and there was various strikers. Barry Bridges played for a while, who'd played when he was younger. He came from Chelsea, I think, and he played for England as well.
Right. So what was Cripps like? What was Cripps like on the pitch? Lunatic. That's why the fans loved him.
Yeah, he wasn't as tough. Like he was very well. He came across as being like a hard man, but when push come to shove, he'd sort of get behind Kitch or someone a bit taller and call the other bloke names or something. Yeah, but
so Kitch was the main man.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, he wasn't like nasty or aggressive, really.
No, it's when they cross that white line, get onto the pitch.
Yeah,
something different comes out in some people.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone were really nasty in the side. I mean, some people have someone who goes around, he's earmarked to clog people, and we didn't really have anybody like that.
Moving on to, obviously you was at the club for 11 years. Pretty much start to finish your career, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Managers in that time, good managers, bad managers?
Well, I mean, as I say, Billy Gray, I think he'd got them from what was 4th division then into the 3rd division, and then into the 2nd division. he was only manager there 3 seasons, and he got promoted in each of the seasons he was there, and then he left, and Benny Fenton came in his place, I think.
Who was the fella, sorry to take you away from that, it's just popped into my head. He had a car garage in the Old Kent Road, and they went to smash his car garage up. Was that the chairman at the time?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Mickey Purser.
When you said Billy Fenton, I don't know why, that jogged my memory of that.
Yeah,
was
was
he under his reign?
Yeah, he was the chairman under, while he was manager, yeah.
What was he like as a manager, Fenton? No good?
Well, no, he was all right for me. I mean, if the manager picks you, like, you're sort of pleased with him.
Yeah,
And the one who come in his place was Gordon Jago, and he didn't really fancy me much. So once he came, like, my days were quite numbered, sort of thing. I mean, he brought new players in, and if they bring new players in, they've got to play them. And he had Tony Hazel, Ray Evans, probably a couple of other lads who I can't think of now.
What was he like, Derek Posse, as a player? Because they show a lot on Old Mill or whatever clips. The bit of an iconic goal where he runs onto his left foot, scores one at the Coldblow Lane.
Yeah, no, he was really good striker. I mean, and for a little lad, I mean, he was quite short. He'd get quite a few goals with his head as well. So, but no, him and Keith Weller, I think they came to Millwall together, like, and it was a package deal, and like the pair of them, like, sort of breath of fresh air, really, like, and changed a lot of the way things.
Saying about that side that I mentioned in the picture, like someone said, ask him about the Great Millwall side of 1971. Was that? Did you go on a great run or anything like that? Or?
Well, we nearly got promoted. I think that's the season where we thought we had got promoted. I mean, the last game of the season was at home to Preston, I think, and.
You said I've been the bar up there previously.
No, that wasn't. That was later. That was when we were mid-table or something. But we were like, I forget. Norwich had been promoted, and it was out of us or Birmingham who would then get promoted. And rumour had gone. We won 2-0 at home to Preston, and rumour had gone round that Birmingham had lost wherever they were playing. But in fact, they won. So they had one more game to play. We were still in second place, and on a Monday evening they played Orient at Orient's ground, and they beat them 1-0. So like, they went up instead of us.
So over 250 appearances for the club. Any that particularly stick out in your mind? Any big games you played in?
Well, one season we had a reasonably good cup run. I think we beat Forest and Everton in early cup rounds, and so I think we got down back to the last 8 or 16, and well, the best was like winning 2-0 at Everton, and we could have been 4 or 5-0 down at half time, but the goalkeeper Brian King, he had a super game, and then like as you said earlier, like Harry Cripps, I mean, he scored 1 goal, and Alfie Wood got the other one, and we won 2-0, and well, that was like the good side to it. But I also remember, I think it was the season after Sunderland won the cup when they beat,
71 was it? 71,
yeah, I don't know if they beat Liverpool. Or they beat somebody anyway. Like they were then a second division side like ourselves. And Manchester United had got relegated when Tommy Docherty was their manager. And the start of the new season, I think our first game was Sunderland at home, and we lost that 4-0. And the second game was Manchester United away, and we lost that 4-0 at Old Trafford. Yeah. So we'd got off to a good start. I don't think we went down that season. We still stayed up, but only like middle table. But no, and as I say, playing at Old Trafford was brilliant, but the result wasn't so good.
No, that's played 2, lost 2, conceded 8 there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's not the best of starts, is it?
No, brilliant. No. But all in all, Millwall, unbelievable times for you.
Oh yeah. Well, as I say, it's pretty much difficult to compare because like the only other club really I had was Dartford, and that's part time, and it's like a different world really as to playing as a full-time job. Yeah,
brilliant. Al, I feel like I can call you Al now. Cheers,
Yeah.
mate. Thanks a lot, mate. And now we move swiftly into the 80s. Kevin Bremner only played for Millwall between 1983 and 1985, but his aggression, commitment and never say die attitude on the pitch will always see him held in high regard by the fans. Signed for the club by George Graham, I went to meet my old gaffer to discuss his time at the Den. Lions TV, welcome back. We're covering the 80s with an ex-Millwall player, absolutely paramount to everything Millwall represents. I didn't personally get to see you play, but I played under you. It's Kevin Bremner, briefly. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yes, good, thank you.
So, when I put out on social media that we would be interviewing you, it got a really good response. Really, really good. People said, he epitomised everything that a Millwall player should be. Wore his heart on his sleeve, got stuck in.
When I say to people now on Facebook, I was tailor-made for Millwall.
Yeah.
The way I played, my attitude, the fact that I kept on running and running and running. I keep telling people the game's not over till the final whistle.
Yeah, 100%. And you scored. You had a good scoring record in general in English football.
Yeah.
You had a good career, but you scored for us. I think it was 36 goals in 92 games.
Something like that, yeah.
So I've done my research.
Just over 1 in 3.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good return.
Yeah.
Signed,
It wasn't only that. It was the people round about me as well scored goals as well.
Yeah. Signed from Colchester for £25,000.
What a bargain.
What an absolute bargain in today's money, especially. But back then, I suppose it was a little bit more money back then. Yeah. Was you signed by George Graham?
Yeah, George. Well, I'm the first player that George paid money for because he had Lovers on a free on trial. Then he had David Stride was on a free. Peter Wells was on loan. Who else came on loan?
It was a bit of a transitional period, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, he paid 25 for me, and then he sold Trevor Aylott to Barnsley or Luton for about 85-90 grand, and then he took in Kuzi and Anton.
Yeah, Anton. How do you say that? I can't even attempt it, but he was a great player, wasn't he?
Excellent, made me loads of goals.
Yeah. So, was you part of? Was it The Great Escape? There is actually a documentary. There's a documentary. I think George Graham took over, 16 points, rock bottom, on the verge of going. I mean, let's have it right. You played for Millwall at a time when things weren't fantastic. Until you signed, then you changed everything.
Tell you what, I was down on loan at Plymouth in January, and Lincoln were flying high at the top of the 3rd division, and Millwall were 10 points adrift from the safe club.
Jesus.
In the 3rd division, and they both came in for me, and I went with George because I think he wanted me more.
Yeah.
Or maybe because it was he was
I
Scottish.
didn't want to say that. The Scottish connection.
No, but he did. He made me feel wanted, and
yeah.
And
I chose Millwall.
Yeah, chose
Millwall. What was it like? Your first impressions of the Den?
Well, my first game there was only just over 2,300 people there.
So
and even with that amount of people in it, the atmosphere was electric.
Really?
Oh yeah, we I think we beat Exeter 5-2 or so. I didn't score. I think Dean Neal scored a hat-trick actually.
Being in and around the Den, obviously we were just discussing off camera, it's not there anymore. It was a random place. But it was
in the middle of nowhere, really.
It was. It is on the back of a ground track underneath an arch. It's sort of one of them old school grounds that looked like it grew there, didn't it? First impressions, of not only the ground but the fans. Like,
they loved a trier.
Yeah.
And as I said, I was tailor-made for them.
Yeah. To this day, I think if you just chase the goalkeeper down and stick one on him, everyone's like that. They love it, don't they? They love it.
It's funny you should say that. I've been out injured for 6 or 7 weeks, and we were playing Bournemouth in the Freight Rover or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a Tuesday night at the Den, and George put me on for the last 20 minutes, and I've chased the left back down. Way, Millwall fans. He's passed it the centre half, chased him down. Way, the other centre half, chased him down. Way, right back got it. Way, got played back to the keeper. Wallop. Brilliant. The ref pulled me and he says, Brent, he says, pretend I'm giving you a telling off. He says, don't let the crowd wind you up.
The crowd that to this day, they'll still thrive off that. And you're right, you've just got to be a try. But you scored your fair share of goals as well.
Oh yeah.
Helped by, you said players around you. What sort of players, other than Anton, Steve Lovell, would have been there about that time?
Lovers was Lovers was right back at the time, and then he played up front with me. I can't remember, was it second season or the first season? Or full season. I joined in February '83, and I can't remember whether Lovers went up front in '83 or '84. Maybe it was season '84-'85.
Yeah.
He changed to play up front.
So let's set the scene there. So you've joined the club, and we are literally, you said we're 10 points from safety. How did George Graham sell that to you?
He honestly
He got a whiskey out, didn't he?
No, he didn't. No. I wouldn't have done it anyway. No, he just wanted me, and I thought, gee whiz, he really does.
Yeah, it's
He
nice
really
for wanted.
does.
Yeah. What was he like as a manager? Would he get involved with the players, or was he a little bit of a disciplinarian?
Very much a disciplinarian. But there was a guy came on loan from QPR, Steve Buck.
Right.
As a left winger. He made me quite a few goals as well. As when he was on loan. But I used to go out with him on a Wednesday and a Thursday. You're not supposed to go out 40 hours before the game, but we went out Wednesday and Thursday in a bar cave in Blackheath, as it was then. I don't know what it's called now. But we used to have a few. I didn't drink wine before, but he drank wine, so I drank what he drank. So I drank white wine as well. So that was a Wednesday and a Thursday. So.
Because George Graham, I've heard rumours from other old players said, well, not rumours, confirmed, that he'd make you, if he caught you out, he'd give you the worst jobs in the world. He'd make you run up and down the stands or clean the stands.
That wouldn't make any difference to me, would it?
You were still running from Saturday, putting tackles in. You got the Great Escape, and then sort of the next season.
Next season was we was there or thereabouts, but we weren't quite good enough.
Right.
Yeah. And then in my 2 and a bit seasons there, so in the second season we just went from strength to strength, and I can't remember whether it was Doncaster one week, and then who was the other team? I scored 2 great headers. Bristol Rovers, actually. Bristol Rovers, I scored 2 absolute belters of headers, and they were both from Anton's free kicks.
What was he like? I mean, I've heard he was good.
Oh, Anton?
Yeah.
he fell over and got a penalty.
But other than that, he was a decent winger, wasn't
he turned people inside out.
What was he like in the dressing room?
He was all right. I mean, say Cousy and him came together.
Dave Cusack.
Yeah, Dave Cusack. Yeah, and they were the Dave Cusack was a big player, and he knew a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
And he had a few arguments with George.
Yeah.
Because he would stick up. He
wouldn't have it.
He would stick up for himself with George. He would let him paste him down or take him down a step or two. But no, Cousy had a couple of boots flying.
Oh really? Yeah, because I was saying earlier, the drinking culture in football's gone out of it now.
Yeah.
Back in the sort of when I was late 80s, early 90s, a kid, you didn't know of it, but finding out what you know back then now, that sort of made players, that sort of made a team, and that's sort of out of football now. Was there a good drinking culture and a good togetherness in the dressing room?
In the season we stayed up in the Great Escape, we all after a game we'd go to the Royal Albert on Shooters Hill.
Yeah.
Just go on the right hand side as you go up.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where we went after the game, and that we bonded in there.
Yeah.
And we had a few beers and well, and good laugh and all the rest of it. But it was the following season. It was a Crown and Anchor, and the season after that, it was a Crown and Anchor.
You don't remember the fixtures, you remember the pubs. Is that how you turned it around in that dressing room? Or is that how you sort of went from just narrowly avoiding games? What division would you have gone into?
Fourth
division, which is now League
2.
League 2 now, yeah.
Doesn't sound so bad, does it? But
It dresses up a bit, doesn't it?
It dresses up a bit rather than the 4th division. Yeah.
4th division.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So
I think Millwall might have gone out of business.
Yeah, mate, I think you could have been right.
To be fair to Thorny done well to get George there. I don't know how he managed
Who's
to get
Thorny?
George. Brian Thornley was a chairman.
Oh, he was the chairman back then, yeah? Yeah, that's... I mean, I've had a lot of good Millwall times in my lifetime, but the 80s, funny enough, the late 80s was very successful, but the early 80s wasn't so much of those. And there was hard times at the club, but you said even so, the fans were still phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. As I said, even with 2,300 fans there, and well, the effort I put in, they appreciated the hard work.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, my dad is, as well, people don't know, but I played under you briefly a long time ago, and he said Kevin Bremner's the manager. Kevin Bremner. I didn't.
You didn't know
and
who
he said
he
he's
was.
fucking brilliant. He said he said he scored an header once at the Den. He said he dived in and headed it, and he said he fucking took a whack and kicked on the nose. He said he got up. He said didn't even know. Just went yeah. Didn't even know you'd had. Because people like your nose is hanging off, and you're like, don't worry about it. Do it again in a minute.
That's just the way it was.
Yeah.
I mean, you see, the euphoria of scoring goals outweighed any pain.
Yeah, of course. So you ended up obviously leaving the club eventually.
Yeah.
Was that still under George Graham?
That was George, yeah.
What happened there?
He greedy bugger didn't give me any money.
Oh, what, he didn't want to pay you?
No.
Because as I said, you talk to people and say, yeah, Kevin Bremner epitomised Millwall, what a perfect player for Millwall, as you said to me as well. So then to see you leave after 2 seasons, I'm looking at that thinking, oh, what's happened there?
Yeah.
He wasn't telling off at that stage because you went and scored a load of goals elsewhere.
Yeah. No, I was probably in the prime then, at 25, 26 years old.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then you went to Reading, so scored a load of goals at Reading.
Yeah.
So what, George didn't want to get the chequebook out?
No, he didn't want to give me any more money. Simple as that. I got more money to go to Reading, and then when I brought to Brighton, I got even more money.
You scored
from
a few
Brighton.
at Brighton, didn't you?
Yeah, Brighton's the best contract I ever signed.
Yeah.
I thought I was in the big time.
Well, you ain't doing bad.
Oh, this is through the move. I had the misfortune of buying my first house off of Paul Scally in Donaldson Road in Shoes Hill.
Him, dodgy bollocks. Paul Scally, wasn't he? I remember him. So yeah, that was a shame to see you leave the club. But as I said, when you talk about, I regard you, although I didn't actually personally get to see you play, but the way people spoke about you, I said you give everything, and you epitomised it. A short-term legend at the club, similar to, I would put Kevin Muscat in that bracket.
Oh, well,
Steve Claridge in that bracket.
At the time, well, when I was there, it was Harry Cripps I was getting likened to.
Yeah, oh really? Just getting
So
stuck in.
that was high praise indeed.
Yeah, definitely. Who else was in around that squad of yours? Because I'm relying on you a bit here because I was alive. I was free. So
Well, Peter Wells was a goalkeeper for a couple of seasons, and then Paul Sampson took over.
I sort of remember.
Lovers was right back for a while, and then he was centre forward. Rhino was right back after that.
Oh, Keith Stevens.
Yeah.
Oh, let's chat about Rhino.
Rhino, he is Mr. Millwall.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Mr. Millwall.
Another one. He's a one club man, isn't he?
Yeah.
Only ever played for Millwall and managed us.
Yeah.
What was he like?
He was tremendous. Tough in the tackle. He could take anything.
He wasn't at Millwall a great deal of time, but in those two seasons,
2 and a bit.
what games stick out to you? Good games, big wins,
In fact,
or losses, and you got a bollocking?
No. In fact, another of my clubs, Reading, in the season that we stayed up in the Great Escape, I think it was 2 or 3-0 down at half time. Ian Stewart, who was on loan from QPR at the time, he was an Irish international, Stewie, he made me loads of goals as well. He got sent off in the first half with 5 minutes to go, and then we was 2 or 3-0 down at half time, and then I think Dean Neal was the other one that got sent off, and so we're down to nine men
And 3-0 down.
2 or 3-0 down.
Oh dear.
And we got back to 2-2 or 3-2. I can't remember. Theo says it's the best game he's ever seen me play.
Theo Foley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's just talk more about if you just being around Millwall, being around the Den, just what it was like to play at the Den, and any associations you had with the fans.
Well, years later, in 1987 probably, I went to Brighton, and a guy called Mike Trussant came as well.
Right.
Doug Rugby came, Dean Wilkins came. Who else did he sign? Barry Lloyd. And Truss says, He says, I always remember you, he says, down at the Den. He says, you lads were defending the corner and you're singing, no one likes us, we don't care.
But while you was on the pitch?
Yeah.
Just chanting along?
Yeah, the fans were singing it, so I was singing it as well. And I'm thinking, you're off your bloody head, you are, Brendan.
Yeah, imagine you're waiting for a corner and the striker singing the same song as the fans. You'd think, what the fuck, wouldn't you? You would, wouldn't you?
That's just the way it was.
Yeah. Did you sad to go, leave the club?
Oh, I didn't want to go. I phoned Theo from Reading and asked him, get George to change his mind. In fact, it was from Paddington Station, I think. I was before mobile phones.
Yeah, you would have been.
And
you were on the train to Reading, and hang on, I can't do this. Theo, you've got to get on the George Graham for me and change his mind.
I tried to.
Brady, get the keys to his safe. Dish out the Brems a couple.
Really Scotch gay.
Oh, Kev, honestly, thank you.
Two superb interviews with two ex-Millwall players that epitomise everything that the club stands for, takes us perfectly into the late 80s and the most iconic era of Millwall Football Club's history. Following the struggles of the early 80s, the great escape and playing in front of crowds of less than 4,000, the club turned it full circle, and on the 2nd of May 1988, a 1-0 win at Hull saw Millwall Football Club promoted to the top flight of English football for the first and only time in their history. After completing the great escape, George Graham started to rebuild the club and lay some serious foundations, but George's good work would not go unnoticed, and unfortunately for Millwall, Arsenal and the big time came calling, and in 1986 he left the club. His replacement was a fellow Scotsman. John Docherty was somewhat of a controversial appointment, having only ever managed once before in the Football League at Cambridge. He had briefly been assistant to Frank McClintock at Brentford, but the Doc had been out of the game since 1983. However, any doubts Millwall fans had were quickly put to bed. Docherty picked up where George Graham left off and added some players to the squad that would go down in Millwall folklore. Tony Cascarino from Gillingham, Terry Hurlock from Reading, Ian Dawes, QPR, Jimmy Carter, QPR. The Doc had pulled off a masterstroke, recruiting London born and bred hard-working players that had learned their trade in the lower leagues and were hungry for a shot at the big time. And it worked. Millwall were promoted to the top flight of English football, and to this day John Docherty remains the first and only manager in our history to achieve it.
Docherty getting into the spirit of the evening.
Previously to this documentary, I've already interviewed some players from that era. Tony Cascarino, Terry Hurlock and Ian Dawes, to name just a few. So now I want to look at things from a fan's perspective. Nick Hart of the superb Act Tongue Millwall podcast is a pillar of the Millwall community. He's been involved heavily in the fan base for the last 15 years in podcasts, radio shows and fanzines. And today we're going to go and meet him and not only discuss the glory days, but the transition from the old den to the new. Nick, thanks so much for joining us today. Good to see you, mate. Really appreciate your time today. From 1988, 89 onwards, the promotion season, the relegation, I've got vivid memories of a very, very important part of our history. So let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So I'm looking for you for a little bit of guidance. Your memories as a man, as a grown man, a 1980s Nick Hart. What was a 1980s Nick Hart?
Oh my God Almighty! You wouldn't. My ex-wife might have a different viewpoint. Going into Christmas, I think we were about mid-table. We were getting 6,000 or 7,000 at home, Coldblow Lane, where we are today, and there was no real sense that the hope was kind of
it was
foundering a little bit. We were mid-table. What was happening? Then we went on a roll, and I mean the rest is history.
We got promoted, and I do remember a lot of our first season in the not the Premier League, which would now be the Premier League, Division 1 in today's terms. Yeah, the top 5 English football in today's terms of Premier League. Top at Christmas.
Yeah.
What was that like?
We were top. We went top. We went top. I think it was about October. We beat QPR at home, 3-2, take us to the top of the league. It was incredible. You had a series of big moments. The first game at home in Division 1, which I never dreamed I would see. There were blokes who had followed this club all their life, lived and died and never saw it. We were serious contenders to win the Football League until probably around March. The wheels started coming off.
Unfortunately, you said the wheels did come off. They didn't ever come back on, and the next season we was relegated.
You know, it was a roller coaster ride. We'd had a great season the year before, And I think there was an expectation that we could get relegated. Teddy actually stayed with us after we got relegated back to Division 2.
Cass left at that point.
Cass left at that point. We lost Herlock, but Teddy Sheringham, I know people call him all sorts of names. I will never do that because he stuck around when he didn't probably have to.
So the gates did finally close for the very last time.
Yep.
And as you say, in typical Millwall fashion, we went out with a bang.
We did, in pitch invasion.
And a 3-0 home defeat. A 3-0 home defeat against Bristol Rovers. What do you remember the last day? I remember, sorry, I'll just get him first because I might say my memories are more vivid, so you can maybe give us a more extended version. People with buckets and spades. People ripping signs down as they was coming in. There was actually a pitch invasion before the game ended, and some of the people on the floor digging pitch up. So what do you remember of that day?
I mean, the game was passable. I mean, obviously we got beat 3-0 to Bristol Rovers. It was billed as the last game ever then, so I think the crowd was quite fairly decent, 16,000, which was a decent crowd for the old Den. And then, as you say, there was this mayhem at the final whistle. Absolute mayhem. People digging the pitch up. He's saying, "Don't dig the pitch up. We've got a fun day tomorrow." People breaking up the goals, the nets, everything you can lay your hands on. Of course, in the moment, I'm not a natural pitch invader. Listeners out there,
not even back then.
No, not really. No, I was never one for that. But of course, I went on the pitch. You got to. It's the last day, and of course, I got this chunk of grass, and I got indoors, and in the cold light of day next back, what the fuck have I got that for? What am I going to do with that? Really?
And just like that, it was over. 83 years of Millwall Football Club's history reduced to rubble. It was a time of anger, confusion and anticipation. The old Den had its emotional ties for us all, but in the cold light of day, this was absolutely the right thing to do. With the club looking to move to the next level, coupled with the devastating Hillsborough disaster, a brand new 20,000 all-seater stadium just a short distance away wasn't just necessary, it was compulsory. Here lies the Den, murdered by Reg Burr, the banners read. But it was all academic. The deal was done. Many fans left their heart at Coldblow Lane to make the short trip to Zampa Road. And on the 4th of August 1993, the first football was kicked at the new Den. And here we are, from the old Den to the new, or a long goal kick, as Reg Burr correctly put it.
It did.
Nick, didn't he?
A long goal kick, and yeah, it would be a long goal kick, but it's not far. You can see both stadiums from up here on the hill. Opening night 1993 friendly versus Sporting Lisbon, featuring Luis Figo, who was an unknown player at that time.
Oh, really?
He actually played at the Den. It was the highlight of his career, they say.
First ever goal. First ever goal at the Den, scored by John Kerr.
John Kerr, yeah, a long forgotten player, but not one of my favourites. But he scored the opening night goal.
He's claimed to fame that.
He is.
What were your first impressions of the new ground coming there on the opening night?
My first impressions was, and it'll sound a bit cheesy, and I apologise to the watchers, but I was actually so proud of what we'd achieved. It was immense. There were no new stadiums built in London at that time. I think
we was the first.
Highbury was the last one. That was not pre-First World War, so we were the first. And you know, although we have this emotional pull with the old ground, the Coldblow Lane, it was clearly of its time. And we'd constructed this beautiful, I mean, it sounds odd now because it looks a bit rusty and a bit weather worn now, but at the time it opened, it was this brilliantly lit, fantastic constructed stadium, and I was so immensely proud and slightly awestruck that we'd achieved it.
Like you say, we were one of the first, and I think we did it at the perfect time because now you see clubs like Spurs recently doing it. There's that feel of too much of a new age place now, where this is our new Den, but in effect, it's fairly old.
It has, in its way, it reminds me of the old ground because it is a little bit rusty. It's a little bit impractical in places. It's got an old-fashioned kind of look to it now. The atmosphere in the new Den matches the old ground. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The old ground had an intimidation factor, that's for sure, and on its day it was loud. The new ground does very, very well, I think. I mean, some of the stuff we take it for granted as Millwall fans. We call bad atmospheres what other people give their right arms for. So, no, opening night, amazed, absolutely amazed that we'd achieved.
Was there really a sense in the air of bigger and better things to come? Because that was the plan. That's why it was a 20,000 all-seater. We was heading for the Premier League. We was aiming for the Premier League.
We were not long out of Division 1, top flight. The Premier League had arrived by that stage. This was being built with the intention of making Premier League football a reality then. It was a moment of high optimism for the club.
Dan, you mentioned it briefly. How does it compare to you, to the old ground? Does it feel like home?
Yeah. I mean, I said earlier on, I've been coming here now for 26 years. That's longer than I ever went to the old Den. The old den was like your first house when you're a kid. You look back kindly on it. I'd love for another day to be able to get in there
Just
again
one
more
yeah,
time.
That's what I've always felt.
But it's like when you lose anyone in your own life, you would give your right arm for one more conversation, one more day in their company, one more football match at the old den would be fantastic. It was of its time. Its time had come. But we've done very, very well to get this ground. I think this is a fantastic.
I think me personally, and you'll join me, hats off to Reg Bird. Maybe not in business aspects, but in the interest of the football club.
He was a very Millwall character.
Mate, and so are you, honestly. Thanks so much.
The realisation of the Premier League dream remains that to this day. A dream. Some Millwall fans like it like that. The modern day game has become so sanitised that most around the den do not and would not want it. The development of social media and of course YouTube is another area that not all fans are fond of. As Nick Hart very nicely puts it, it is a modern day fanzine. But not all fans see it that way, and I completely understand and respect their opinions. But personally, I'm a strong believer that if you don't move with the times, you'll get left behind. Our next guest is not only a modern day Millwall fan, but he also happens to be one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet. He has over 5 million YouTube subscribers, and as a founder member of the Sidemen, you can add another 8 million to that total. The Sidemen are global superstars and at the absolute top of the YouTube game. If you ain't guessed by now, our fourth and final guest is Josh Zerka.
Josh Zerka.
Mate, for this one.
Yeah, well, was he? Yes. Do we still do that now?
I don't know.
YouTubers do.
I don't know.
So obviously, as I've said, massive YouTuber, but more importantly, a Millwall fan.
Indeed.
How did that come about?
That's just, I guess, both the same story as most Millwall fans. Like, my whole family, dad's side, is all Millwall. And so Millwall for me was like a childhood family thing. That was our family get together every Saturday or Tuesday night, come down Millwall, sit in block 16.
Block 16, yeah?
Yeah, but we moved to the west side. Something must happen, must have got some more money. I don't know what happened.
First ever impressions of Millwall, your first ever game, do you remember it?
That's the thing, I have no very memory of my first game. That's the one sad thing. I should have texted my dad before and said like, oh, what's my first game? I don't know what my first game is. It must be like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Or even younger.
So what year would that have been? What sort of year do you remember from?
My main season I remember is the season we got promoted into Division 1. Which would have been that game where we beat Oldham 5-0.
Yeah, Stephen Reid scored the rocket.
Yeah, and we got promoted at Wrexham.
Yep.
And I went to Wrexham.
I went to Wrexham as well, yeah.
So one all draw, yeah.
Had a weekend in Chester. You was probably a bit young for a weekend away at that point.
Yeah. I'd have been 8.
Yeah, I remember everyone was on the pitch after the game.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a pitch invasion. That was they opened the doors.
Yeah, they did. For
the first time. As in like here, that is, for the 5-0. Normally, like, we win saying, can we all go run on the pitch? I don't, but...
Just get that in.
Yeah, very clear. I have to go run on the pitch. Don't run on the pitch, it's bad.
So the team then, God, that was a very good first team to be around. The current gaffer, Neil Harris, Stephen Reid, Paul Moody, Christoph Kinney, Tony Warner. Tony Warner will be watching. What do you remember of Big Denzel? Because he will be seeing this.
All I remember is Denzel Watson score. And I was a goalie back then for like my under 9 team.
Yeah.
And then so he was like my idol, my hero. Like, I want to be him because everyone idolised him in the ground.
There's 3 eras, obviously I'm slightly older than you. There's 3 eras that stick out to me in my Millwall lifetime, and that definitely is one of them. It's just a brilliant time to be around the club. For me personally, when I was a bit older, I used to be the players would go out on nights out. We spoke about Bexley Heath and that earlier. The player was always out and about, and it just seemed to be a very good camaraderie, which for me Neil Harris is trying to rebuild now. But
I feel like that's old school football though.
Yeah. I
feel like because if you go back and listen to all these old footballers, like, oh, you used to go out drinking all the time, and it's like now you're athletes. It's different.
Exactly.
You can't really...
I actually covered that earlier on in documentaries. Exactly. The drinking culture has gone completely out of football, and it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, I think changing rooms can suffer and
they have to now they should share some hummus now, and it'd be great. Or like something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of hummus and a bit of yoga and stuff.
A protein shake.
Yeah, it is a shame, but back they were proper players, proper kit that year as well. The all white home kit.
Yeah, is that like the Giorgio one?
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
That was
that our home kit?
That was our home kit, and people say now, I see debates all the time, should we have the stripe, should we have the blue, and people say, no, we're blue, it's got to be this blue, but people seem to forget that season,
why was it white?
I don't know, I can't remember, it was is
it like
a commemorative,
that's the word, got it.
let's put my teeth in to do it, a commemorative kit, yeah, so you remember those times, remember being in the east stand, and then you transferred to the west. What other memories you got from Millwall? Being teams, players, your favourite? Who was your all-time favourite player?
I know Tim Cahill.
Yeah.
I just feel like he has to go. I recently found out this week that his sons are fans of us.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he DM'd me on Instagram, and I was like, hang on, what? Tim Cahill?
He was like, I could send
My
you.
childhood hero.
I'll send you a Sidemen shirt if you send me a signed Cahill one.
That's a good trade-off. I should do that.
Should do actually. He came back there. We'll get on to him coming back later on in the interview. But yeah, Tim Cahill, your favourite player?
I think there's a player like Kevin Muscat.
Nutter.
I feel like I went to be a right back. I feel like I had to idolise any player in my position. So he was our right back, and I was like, you know what? I only Kevin Muscat, so I'm just going to go through players at the young age of 11 or 12.
Go nose to nose with people, start getting in their face
he
on
was a
Sunday.
nutter. No, I think that's why I loved him.
Yeah, he was. I always regard him as a short-term legend at the club. He wasn't here long.
How long was he here for? Like a year? 2 years?
2 years. I think he played about 60, 70 games for Mill. But there's a very famous photo. I'll show it now on the screen. It's just of we played Liverpool. I think it was in a League Cup or a pre-season friendly, and he's literally looks like he's going to bite Milan Barish's nose off. He's just
that's here, right?
yeah.
We lose 3-0.
Something like that.
I think that's in the League Cup.
The results aren't important.
That's in the League Cup. Yeah,
it was a League Cup. What we took from that is the photo of Muscat. He was just raging, and that's just everything that Millwall player epitomised. You know, and that's what we've tried to capture.
We need one of those players again.
We do. That's what we've tried to capture in this documentary. Speak to the players. Like, you know, what would you describe a typical Millwall player to be?
Kevin Muscat.
But was that the draw when you said your dad first brought you down here? Was that the draw to you as a youngster coming down here and seeing these?
It's passion.
Passion.
Like Millwall fan base, obviously, like we can be passionate, and sometimes it goes wrong and go too passionate. But all we ever want from players, no matter how good you are. I mean, look at Jimmy Abdu. As long as you're passionate and you get involved, you just get into a tackle.
Yeah.
It's one way to get into like a Millwall fan's heart. Just crunch someone.
That's exactly right.
And that's it. Like, play with passion, gives 110%, regardless of if we're winning or losing. And that's all I want to see or expect from a Millwall player.
But you got your first era. I
think I'm very lucky with mine.
My first era was Tony Cascarino, Teddy Sheringham.
Yeah. So you were very lucky.
And you sort of, I was very lucky, and you in the same boat. Obviously, our all-time top scorer would have been firing. There's a picture of him in the alley just over there. Neil Harris. Would you remember Harris?
I remember going on a long walk with my dad when he had cancer, when he had testicular cancer.
Yeah.
I remember doing the walk.
Right.
Well, I don't know what game it was. I remember like a Norwich game or something.
Right.
I remember him, but then other than that, just an incredible striker, someone who epitomises Millwall, puts in effort. But then he's cheeky. He gets us corners out of nowhere, keep ball against people. It's like he's a smart player.
He wasn't the target man, obviously, and he wasn't super quick either. So I've
not seen that. I don't know. It's like a weird player.
Yeah, I'd agree. I know what you mean.
It's like a really strange style because he was smart in weird ways, in the way that he'd play the game. He was a good gamesman, I guess.
Yeah.
He could get us a corner.
Clever with it. What do people say if it ever comes up in conversation? Football comes up, and you say, "I'm a Millwall fan." What sort of reaction do you get to that?
Every time it's like, oh, why?
He was a nice boy.
Yeah. That is it. Like, you're way too nice to be a Millwall fan. I don't know. A lot of people like it, I think.
Yeah.
Because it's people I like. I mean, I always say I love an underdog anyway. I think people view Millwall as it's an underdog team. But I think everyone hates Millwall, they like us at the same time.
Yeah,
because we're a team that we still have our we still have our authenticity.
Yeah.
We're still exactly who we were 20 years ago, which a lot of clubs aren't anymore.
No, spot on.
So now it's this hard balance of, do you want to keep chasing getting higher in Championship, or do you want to stay where we are and just?
Well, a lot.
And we're at that bit now. We're at that crux point now.
Yeah, it took me back a bit, to be honest, because I'm watching this and you really are a Mill fan. It's not smart.
Yeah.
But you fully understand and are involved with it. You're not just one of these people go, I'm a Millwall fan, but he's in between us. He's never there. Do you know what I mean?
I only stop. I don't come as often now.
Yeah. Due to work.
Yeah, and that's simply it.
The 2004 FA Cup run.
Yeah. That's the next sticking point memory for me. I think that semi-final at Old Trafford against Sunderland, that Tim Cahill goal. Limbs.
It was with a little bit of a deflection. I was right behind that Cahill goal, and I thought he controlled it well. When he did, we sort of deflected off the thing, and I just remember going to the FA Cup semi-final thinking, this. We've got this far. That's impossible. We're never going to get to play Man United, and when we did.
Yeah, as a kid, that was when I had and then I'm watching Millwall, I'm also watching Cristiano Ronaldo at the same time. Oh my God.
Yeah. Poor old Robbie Ryan that day got turned inside out, didn't he? Bless him. But
and he also got his leg broken, Ronaldo, that day.
I know. Yeah, Ronaldo scored, didn't you? Do you remember Ronaldo scored and sort of run towards our fans?
Yeah, I was in front of us. Yeah, yeah.
People were someone tried to get on and get him. But yeah, as a 24-year-old, I was kept thinking this can't be real. This cup run.
That year is what? So we played Tranmere, right? We played Tranmere here.
We played Tranmere here, drew,
and then went to them. And that's where Harris scores like the chest and volley.
That's it, left foot.
I came here and I had a bloody like, Mohican, blue and white, and the face paint. Only young.
Oh dear.
I was repping my colours.
I think Muscat missed the penalty here. Their goalkeeper saved it, tipped it over, and that's what took us to the replay.
Muscat, hate him.
The FA Cup final. What's your memories of the FA Cup final?
Oh yeah, for us it was just a great day out. No one even cared about that because I think we all knew.
Yeah.
Like it was waiting. It was like okay, the time's ticking. We're getting there. We're getting closer and closer. And they scored. Okay, it's over. Let's just enjoy the day.
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing billboards around at the time. There's a picture of Dennis Wise, and it's like the bigger they are, the harder they fall. And I did get sucked in a little bit of that.
We make like a song.
We did do it. That's actually on YouTube. I might click that up. But
there's like Theo Paphitis like miming at the start.
Theo Paphitis. But Dennis Wise as a manager, I know he was young. He gets a lot of grief, but I liked him.
That's the thing. So like, I feel like it's a blur. I remember like liking him, and suddenly I was told to not like him.
Yeah.
And I don't know where. It's had to do with money, right? Did he like?
I think he was ambitious.
Compensation or something.
Yeah, I think before he left, I think he was ambitious and he wanted to take us to the next level. But
he was working at one point.
I thought he was a good manager. I thought he was a perfect fit for Millwall. Other managers that stick out for you?
Mark McGee.
I loved McGee.
I think that cheer up Mark McGee.
Cheer up Mark McGee. Yeah. Daydream believer.
I feel like then it's just Kenny Jackett after that. I feel like that's the two like.
Kenny was obviously.
We had that period which was like managers galore.
Yeah.
It's like okay,
Spackman,
no, see you later. See you later.
And then we got it right with Kenny. King Kenny. What other games like? Have you got anything you can stick out to you like you just said?
I'm trying to think of
something obscure.
I feel like a lot of
Wrexham Way's not a bad one, but that was the end of the season, wasn't it?
I think we did Sheffield United away, and I was a mascot. I remember that one just because I was a mascot. We did Leyton Orient away, and I was a mascot. Remember that one? Trying to think like there's loads of like Forest away days that were great, and then loads of one that sticks out in my mind is a QPR away night on a Tuesday night, and it was just coins galore. And I remember like being excited that I got like 11 quid because I was staying after like picking it all up.
Oh dear. Yeah, QPR's always an eventful one.
What game really stands out for me is Mill Birmingham playoff semi-final here, where Stern John like scores like 98th minute, whatever.
Yeah.
And then ambush out here. Remember that one?
That was a painful night in the club's history. The away leg was very good. When we went up there, we drew 1-1. Dion Dublin scored a late equaliser. There's actually a photo of me in the South London press in that one.
Good old Dion Dublin.
Good old Dion Dublin. He was another one. Dion Dublin. I think that season we had Paul Moody, Neil Harris, Dion Dublin, and Steve Claridge all around it. No wonder we done well.
Yeah.
With Stephen Reid.
And then you go down the years, and like we had Paul Huberts.
Stefan Meyerhofer.
We had some.
Come on, let's get on to them then. Some bad players. Some bad players.
You know, a player who's a bad player, but I loved him. Abu Fofana.
Yeah.
Because he was rapid.
Yeah.
He's a beast on FIFA. That was the key for me.
Get him. He's only 60 rated, but can the boy run?
Yeah. Who else? Yes, we've had some awful ones though.
Yeah, we definitely have.
I'm trying to think some awful players we've had. Adrian Sirio just had a good throw.
Yeah, do you remember Sirio? He come with Josh Simpson, didn't he?
The
Canadian invasion. And I remember their debut. I'm sure we played Leicester at home, and he looked like the next big thing. Does your dad still go? Do you still go? What's your aspirations and hopes going forward?
I think half my family still go, but not as many of them. Kind of all like slow dribbled out a little bit. I think that's just family issues though.
Yeah.
So.
Nothing to do with Millwall.
Yeah. Aspirations for Millwall now.
Yeah.
I think just to solidify championship status really.
Yeah.
And let's just stay here and just get some more money into the club, but still try and keep who we are.
Husky have just walked up, and you're exactly right. Get some money into the club, but retain our.
But that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, it is. But they are actually. So I know this Swedish. I where it's from. But they are apparently very much love the club and want the best for the club moving forward. So it could happen.
But then it's like but we could get a lot of money, but then this day and age, in like 10 years' time, Championship maybe be like 30 million a player. You know, like the way Championship is going.
Oh, it's
going to be
absolutely
like,
ridiculous.
huge.
Some of the money in the Championship, some of the players in the Championship, and clubs.
We're going to run out like.
There's no Adrian Sirius left no more.
We're going to run out of clubs in the Championship that haven't got parity payments. That's what we're going to do.
That could definitely happen. But I think you're right what you said, that people, if we finish mid-table, fantastic. Hats off to the manager. Obviously, due to the season we had, first season back in the Championship. Last year, the season we had finishing 1-2 places above the relegation zone. That's the season we should have had in the first season back in the Championship.
That's what you'd expected, yeah.
And there was a lot of angry people around, a lot of fans not happy with the way we played football. But if they have had that season, the first season back in the Champ, no one would have said anything. Because we overachieved, I think the fans' level of expectancy was a lot higher.
Yeah. That's one of the things, I feel like if we get to Premiership ever, would that be a good thing or bad? I can't still decide.
Oh, is it?
Because imagine like the Millwall, Chelsea, West Ham, would be great.
I was not just thinking that, but also obviously, like we said earlier, Millwall would have always retained their authenticity. And would there be hot dogs? Would there be happy clapping? And yeah, it just wouldn't wash at Millwall. It wouldn't wash. I think if we went up, I think it'd be for a season, and I think we get relegated. Cause a bit of havoc.
Then that might ruin us.
A lot of Sunday morning kick-offs at 11 o'clock.
That might break us though, getting promoted and coming down. We get the parachute payments, but then we probably have bought all these players that we're going to spend tons of money on wages, and then we can't afford it anymore.
I think, well, again, and people who criticise Mill for not spending enough, I think we've done things the right way, and I think exactly what you just said. You've seen teams like Hull go up. You've seen teams like Middlesbrough go up, spend all the money, come down, end up skint. And it's not the right way.
Still spending money now.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know where they're getting it from, but it's maybe not always the way to go. Do it slowly, softly, do it the right way.
I think I'm happy to be in a Championship club. I don't know. It's a kind of weird thing to say.
What bracket would you put Millwall in if you had to describe Millwall?
I think we're just a passionate team, a team that give our all. We're not be the most skillful bunch and have got the most money, but we're passionate. Both fans and players are passionate about the club, and that's what we are, really.
Absolutely spot on, mate. I really appreciate your time today. Good man.
Worries, thank you.
I'll catch you soon on YouTube and all. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, unfortunately that is a wrap. I gave myself 12 weeks to pull this documentary off, and in hindsight, I could have given myself at least double. There'll be some things I've missed out, some big things, and we all know what they are. I'm going to play you out with Let 'Em Come to wrap things up for one, but I've just run out of time. I may do a part 2 at one point, I may not. You also may have seen in the documentary a few wardrobe malfunctions and some things that weren't quite right, and I'm sure you'll pull me up in the comments if you know more than I do. But if you know more than I do, you're a better man than I am, because, or woman, this has been a slog. But I'm not looking for anyone to get any violins out or to give me a medal. I just want you all to know that I gave this my absolute everything for the football club that we love. It is a strange one. 11 men kicking a ball around the pitch can be life-changing. For me personally, and I'm sure for many others, it has dragged me back from the brink on many levels, many a time, and just seems to be the constant that you can always go back to. A love for a football club will never die. That's enough from me. It's now time to hand over to the current team and the current squad under Neil Harris. All the best for the season, boys. It's time to rewrite the history books for yourselves once more and add a few more chapters to this wonderful football club. I'll see you at the Den Saturday if you're going. Please subscribe to Lions TV. Come on, you Lions.
Let 'em come, let 'em come, let 'em come. Let 'em all come down to the dead. Let 'em come, let 'em come, let 'em come. We'll only have to beat 'em again. It's the best team in London, no, the best team of all. Everybody knows us, we're called Millwall. Let 'em come, let 'em